Hi, everyone. This is Kristin Sullivan with the Just As Planned Wedding Podcast. I hope you're having a fantastic day. I'm excited to bring to you something spicy today. Kim Coffin from, I think it's Waterloo, Ontario, correct, Kim?
Yeah, that's where I am from.
I like that. I just like saying Waterloo. It just sounds fun.
Yeah, it's a great song too, right?
Exactly. Well, thanks so much for being here. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. I'm really honored to be here. I'm excited to dive into everything.
Yes, this is going to be fun because I feel like I'm always talking about linens and flowers and things that, people maybe want to know about during the wedding process, but let's really get down to what matters in a relationship. And you have
Yeah.
so much good content to share and bring out the best in a relationship. So I'm going to let you take the wheel and let's have fun. Let's dive in.
Sounds good. Thank you. So yeah, I'm Kim Coffin. I'm an empowerment and sexuality coach. I'm also a sex, love, and relationship coach, as well as a tantric sexuality coach and female sexuality coach. So I specialize in sex, love, intimacy, relationships, empowerment, jade egg, tantric sex, sacred sexuality, all of the yumminess. But basically, what does that mean? Like when it comes down to it, what it means is I'm showing singles and couples how to reconnect, how to come home in their body, how to activate their turn on from within, not from somebody else, how to heal heartbreak and shame, because we hold a shit ton of that, whether we've got trauma in our past or not. The collective there is huge around our body and around sexuality, and really reclaim the places that we have been the most disempowered. And for most, that is in our sexuality, that is in our speaking up, that is in our truth, that is in our voice, and really come back into our body, really heal in our body, and step into our unapologetic power, because that just is how we can go through our life, how we can work in relationships, how we can show up as our true selves and really have the lives that we desire.
That's amazing. All of that is just like goosebumps. Because we all on this podcast particular, of course, you have all of this excitement and fun and everything's great leading up to the wedding, and you've just got all this adrenaline going on, and then what happens? Like, not that you don't love each other. This isn't to come down to probably anything to do with the love. You of course love each other, but what you teach is so much deeper and bringing out really just all of your core to each other. Trust, and I imagine trust is
all of it. Yeah. A lot of us don't have that inner foundation of safety and trust within our own bodies. So when we come together in relationship, we naturally have two inner children. We have two traumas. We have two pasts. We have two ideas. We have two trigger responses. And we're playing this dance. We're dancing around this, activating each other. This is generally after the honeymoon phase. Sometimes you see it a little bit in between, but then, we go back into the lovey-dovey phase and everything feels yummy. And I'm speaking from experience there too. I've also been married, what year is it? 22 years now. I had to do my math there for a moment. Yeah, I've been married for 22 years. We have 3 teenage adults, like 16, 18, and 21. And naturally, this is what we're going to do. We're going to trigger each other. We're going to push each other's buttons. We're going to have things in our body that just somebody does something or looks at us the wrong way, including our partner. And we don't have a choice. Our frontal cortex lobes like offline, like bye-bye. Like there is no, ooh, what does he mean here? It's like red. And we can't stop that because it is in our nervous system. It is in our conditioning. And we're not modeled, like, let's be honest, we are not modeled good communication skills, good intimacy skills, good connection skills, good listening skills. Those are things that we need to be taught. And majority of us have not been taught it.
Especially the communication. It's all about that, right? And so much now gets lost in communication and translation between a text or an email. It's like people have stopped talking.
Yeah, it's there's a whole systemic go, work hard, you'll relax when you retire, right? This mentality, and it's not accurate, and it's very trauma unaware. And it's actually creating more trauma in our bodies. It's creating burnout. It's creating exhaustion. It's creating ultimately separation and divorce. And I hate to mention that when we're just talking about getting married, but let's be realistic. Like, what is the number at these days? Is it 50% or give or take? And I want more than that. I want more than that for me. I want more than that for my children. I want to show them these ways to have these real, true, open relationships. Am I perfect at it? No. But we get to learn these ways to trust ourselves. And that's where it really starts from.
So you have an interesting approach too, which is amazing, because you can actually work with the couple, but then you can actually work with them individually as well.
Yes. Yes. So I leave it open to them. If they just want couples coaching, we'll just do couples coaching. But I love working with my couples and 1 week of the month where we work with each of them. So they each have a private call. And I love that because it allows us to really go deeper and to create that safety and that trust and that empowerment within their own body, so that they can hold themselves when their partner's having a little reaction or a little, whatever it may be. I'm going to, generally call that little reactions like inner child. If you think of it, they actually are our inner child selves. And if you step back and look at it without being in the red, you can see, wow, that's like a little 3-year-old having a tantrum right now. And it literally is. It literally is. They are sometime in our life where we have been hurt or activated or bullied or felt abandoned. Could even be a hospital visit. It could be the schoolyard. It can be anything. It doesn't have to come from a bad, what we would call a bad upbringing of abuse and trauma. It can be from other things, teachers shaming you, reading out loud, kids laughing at you. So anytime in a communication, in a relationship, anything gets activated, we go offline. Like, our thinking, logical brain goes offline. And normally it's for about 30 seconds. And that's where we respond. And you may notice that sometimes you'll have a response with a partner, like a little fight or a little tiff. And you're like, did I just say that? Who was that? That's our unconscious coming up to go, no, I want to be seen. I want to be heard. I want to be loved. I want to be listened to. You're not meeting my need right now.
Yeah, very interesting. It's that little demon on this shoulder, right? But it's not really a demon. It's it's what's in you.
Like, it's really a beautiful, sensitive little part of you that just wants its needs met.
Yeah. What do you, when you start working with couples, is there a process that they go through? Like, is it like almost like an intake where they're coming to you first and explaining that maybe they're not even having issues? Because I do want to say that too, that I think
yes, please,
the healthiest of relationships, like you have shared in some of your other content, are starting when there isn't anything wrong.
No, exactly. You do not want to wait till things are wrong. Gone are the days of, oh, you're in counseling, I'm sorry. No. We are not taught these things. We are not taught sacred sexuality. We don't even know what we desire. Many of us, we have so much shame and conditioning around our bodies, around our sexuality, all of it, that we just don't know how to come together that way. So you do not want to wait till your relationship is broken, or maybe this isn't going to work. You really want to learn these tools in the beginning. Yeah.
I think if people, wouldn't it be amazing if like date number 10 was like with you, so it's like you either are going down the right path, or you're like, I mean, that would just be, it would be so healthy. I would think that it would cause you to get back that 90% staying marriage rate.
Yeah. And I have many couples who like, hey, we're moving in together. Can we start some couples coaching? Yep. It's perfect time to start connecting, because once you wait till the end, when things are really stressed, there's so much resentment piled on top. Can you heal it? Yes. That is where some of our deepest healing can come from, is in relationships. But why wait? You don't have to.
No, I love that. And I think probably for a lot of people is there's some maybe shame, some embarrassment, like how to approach it. I imagine maybe one person comes to you, approaches you, and then they're sharing it with the other person to get into that situation where they are talking with you. And how do you not coerce them by any means, but how do you just let them know it's okay? It's a safe space, right? Like,
Mm-hmm. And it's a 2-for-1 here, because you also asked what's your process to get started, and it's a both and here, because a clarity call, which is just a complimentary call that I offer to all couples, is a beautiful way to say, okay, what do you both desire? What's going on? What's showing up already in your relationship, even if it's brand new? What are you noticing? What are some patterns? When do you get a little upset? When you're a little bit, I didn't like that. Or when is your body just, ooh, that caught me. I'll put that away for later. Like starting to notice those little things. And in a clarity call is where we start, because seeing that mirror, seeing that reflection back to you, the pattern that I can pick up on really quickly once I hear a little bit of story, and working toward your desires. Then from there, we work towards your desires. What are you struggling with? What's coming up? Everything in private coaching is very tailored to every single session and every single client. Every single week, it changes, right? If there's a fight on the weekend, it might be a different thing we're doing this week. If there, is like, oh, things are feeling great, I want to move towards this desire, more sexuality, more intimacy, whatever that may be, we can work towards whatever that may be. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I think it's quite special too that maybe it's like if someone's going away on an anniversary or a trip, or how cool would it be to have like a session like that's part of like a really positive experience, versus it being coming to you because something went wrong or they had a bad weekend, or let's start off like a vacation, like with the clarity call.
There's a lot of fun in the coaching. If you're coming brand new in a relationship, you're like, hey, let's just build a foundation here. It's a lot of fun.
And nothing's easy, right? But it's easier to do it in a healthy pattern and way initially than, like you've said, waiting until there's so much resentment and anger or buildup, or something goes wrong, you're trying to deal with it. It's so hard, I think, for a lot of people to forgive and forget, which is sad.
Absolutely. It hurts us on a really somatic, a really body-based level. And it's like, the best way, it's almost, you can talk to it like paper cuts. It's like you get these little paper cuts, but if you keep getting these paper cuts, which, hey, you're going to get them in relationship, like that's relationship. If you're going to keep getting them, and if you let them go, and if you let them fester, you're going to take more work and a lot more pain, unfortunately, to heal and work on those paper cuts. It's going to need some antibiotic ointment and some air and a whole pile of different things, versus if we just work on them and increase connection and communication and intimacy, and really open those lines of dancing together, holding each other when we're not feeling supported, learning how to ask for what we want and what we need when we're not supported, also supporting ourselves, because our partner isn't the one that should be holding everything and giving us everything we need. It really does come from within.
I tell people in the retreats that I do for brides that you have to be happy yourself first. You can't make anyone else around you happy. You can't make the 150 people on your guest list happy unless you're happy. And that's a lot. That's a lot sometimes for people to digest, because they don't, I guess we're probably all just used to putting everyone else before us. And we didn't maybe learn that to the last couple of years with everyone being in lockdown.
There's also a hormonal component there for women, where we have raving hormones to make babies, make everybody happy, keep everybody safe, to make babies. Like we can't bypass it, and it's just going all the time. So we become epic people pleasers. We start fawning. We start, oh, whatever you want, dear. And we start over giving. But if you keep going that path, you will hit burnout. You will hit exhaustion. That's the problem. So you can work with it, but you have to start to see what's going on there. And it's as we start to hit midlife, maybe they're getting married later in life, depends who's listening here. As you start to get married later in life, as you're starting to approach your 40s, those hormones start to drop away and you start to go, taking care of me now. So it depends where you're coming into marriage and where you're trying to show up, making everybody else happy. There's a whole pile of things at play: hormones, body, past, even past relationship wounding. All of that can come in there.
Yeah, I think that a lot of triggers, right, like happen because of something that's happened to us in the past, whether we remember it or not, or if it's a relationship that we came into previously, especially right before marriage, if you were engaged to someone else, or even were married to someone else, you know, that plays a huge factor. And
absolutely,
that's something that you know, you just have to learn to deal with, and know that you're with a different person and partner now, and they chose you, right? Like,
yeah. And then there's the side of sexuality, right? Because that's a very important part of relationships. And we hold a crap ton of shame and conditioning around our body, around sexuality in our own bodies. And then we start to have issues in, there's so many. We could lay down and just do what we got to do to keep them happy, right? We don't speak up. We don't say anything, which does not feel very good. We can go into issues of even infidelity, ultimately, porn addiction. There's so much there because we're not taught what healthy sexuality, what a healthy pleasure is in relationship. So there's also that piece that gets to be talked about, gets to be healed.
And that's probably the hardest thing, right, to talk about. That's probably the hardest thing.
Not for me anymore.
Not for you
anymore. It used to be. Honestly, it used to be.
Really?
I was so shut down, disempowered, disconnected, numb from my own body. Yes. And unfortunately, and fortunately, it's a both and, it took me till 40 to reclaim who I am, my body, myself, my sexuality. Oh, yes. Yeah. So I'm speaking from both sides here.
Which is so important because you've been through it. So what better, I would rather much be guided by someone that's been through it than textbook, right?
Yeah, you need to feel it.
You need to feel it. Do you normally talk with people? Like, is it weekly? Is it monthly? Is it, or just whatever you feel is best for them, or they feel it's best?
Great. Yeah, I normally work with people for 6 months at a time. And then some people renew on to a year eventually, and that feels really yummy as well. And I work with my clients the first 3 weeks of every month. And normally there's once the odd 3 months, there's a second integration week. So 3 times a month, we're having calls if we're just doing one-on-one or just couples. If they also want a little bit more of private support in between too, we'll do week 1 is couples, week 2, they each have an individual session, and week 3, it's back to couples again. And then I also offer unlimited messaging support in between too, to both parties, because that's where the real work happens. That's where we're learning to hold ourselves. That's where we're learning to use a tool or a practice that I taught you a week or 2 or 3 before. And you're like, whoa, this didn't work the way I planned. What do I do? And that's how I can hold and support my clients in between.
That's amazing. That's so much support. So much support. That's wonderful.
It is.
What is your, so you're, let's give a fake couple for a minute. They're coming back, you know, from their honeymoon. They're moving in together for the first time. It's new, it's scary, it's fun, but like,
it's exciting.
It's exciting. And how do you keep that excitement? Like, what is your, like, if you had that crystal ball that you could just tell someone, you know, like, what is your plan to tell someone to just stay on the right track?
And that feeds into my other specialty, sacred sexuality. It's Tantra, right? It's learning how to feel sexual energy in your body. It's learning how to follow your pleasure and not follow the peak of what we're known and we know and follow as orgasm, this little burst. We know how, and we learn how to go in and follow our pleasure and use our breath and use sound and use our touch, uncover what our more sexual patterns are. Are they more sensual? Are they more sexual? Are they more kinky? Are they more energetic? Really getting to know each other and playing, because that's the only way. That is the only way. I like to take a lot of my clients through practices, and I get asked this question a lot, so I'm going to answer it right now. No, I'm never watching anybody have sex ever, just so we're clear.
Oh my God, I can't imagine someone ask you that.
If I'm ever taking people through practices, which I do a lot, they have the option to just listen and absorb it and ask questions at the end. And they have the option to turn off their camera, mute themselves, and I'm just like a live guided audio. And if they'd like, I also record those of me talking only, because I give them then that version of the recording as a practice. So it's a practice where they can continue to deepen their sacred sexuality. They can deepen their pleasure. They can follow breath work. They can use all of these tools in between our sessions. So normally by the time of an end of a coaching term, somebody can have anywhere from like 10 to 20 different practices in their Dropbox library that they can continue using, because it is a practice. Coming home into our own body is a practice, and coming home in relationship and dancing that beautiful dance is a practice. So some will be communication, some will be intimacy, and some will be more sacred sexuality. It's a mix, depending what you want.
That's amazing that they have those tools to carry on with. I think about like couples getting dance lessons right before their wedding, and because they're doing one dance. And so if you compare that to like, are you ever probably going to do that dance again? No. Are you ever going to have sex again? Let's hope a lot.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that dance analogy. Yes, yes, yes. I remember 25 years ago when people were getting married around me and we were looking at getting married, you had to, a lot of churches, you had to go for mandatory counseling with the church, which I don't totally agree with that part, because I'm sure they're missing out a lot of good stuff in there. But at the time, I thought that was crazy. We don't need that. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, every single relationship needs that. Not exactly that, but you get me what I'm saying.
Yes, yes.
To have that guidance, that mirror, that holding space, the tools, the practices, learning how to dance in your life, in and out of the bedroom, both.
Yeah, so true. Especially too, I imagine when we are now getting back to the real world of people traveling and not being together 24/7, that trust factor again starts to play in. And when you've been locked down for 48 hours, sorry, 24 months, then they separate, right? Like they went from maybe being married to together 20, all this time. And now they're separating again, like that trust factor might start to slip away. And so this is a really good opportunity and experience for them to keep that bond by having some help to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And COVID and lockdown didn't create the trauma or the breakup in your relationship or the tense or the fighting, whatever it may be. It just put light really, really quickly on the stuff you need to work on. It's like a spotlight.
It's so true. It's so true. And just kind of catapulted into it with no warning. Right?
Exactly, right. And other life transitions will do that, like going through menopause can do that. A death of a parent can do that. Any tragedy in your family can do that, right? Loss of a child, something like that, including miscarriage. Like I've had a few of those as well. So, all of those things add up. Yeah. And we don't know how to hold ourselves. We're not taught how to hold ourselves and how to hold our partner in those times. And instead, we're kind of running around with like blindfold on in most of our marriages.
That's such a good analogy, and you're amazing. I mean, I advise everyone, like if someone could give the perfect wedding gift, forget the registry at Williams Sonoma. Call Kim.
And that's such an interesting one. Immediately my brain goes to, how does that work?
Yeah. People register for honeymoons now. Why can't they register for?
They could. You know what? A gift certificate and not paid for yet, because you want to honestly meet your coach and talk to them and make sure you feel aligned with them and they're the best for you. But totally putting on there, I want some couples coaching and I'm going to pick the coach, or maybe the couple picks the coach in advance and then puts it on their registry. That can work.
That's great. Yeah, I'm gonna suggest that to my girls in my retreats. It's a section we might be bringing you into because it's so important.
Oh, I'd love to. It is so important. I also teach like tantric sex weekends for couples and for singles. They're separate. I do 2 different weekends in the fall each year. And it's all online. That's the beauty of it. The COVID has allowed us to lock down and do so many things so much easier. I work with people from around the world.
That is so great because there are people on here watching from all over the world. So know that you can reach out to Kim. We're going to share all of her contact information in our post and connect with her. They said it's a complimentary clarity call, so they can talk with you first.
Absolutely. And experience it. Like we're going to go in and work on what's going on. What do you both want? What's working? What's not working? Like we're going to play. It's a beautiful way to explore even just that first session.
That is so great. Oh, Kim, amazing. Anything else that you want to share? You've given us so much good information and I love it.
Yeah, if this is speaking to you, honestly, just reach out. I know it's really hard to reach out in the beginning. I remember myself many, many times at different stages. Don't be afraid to trust your body and just jump and really trust that you'll be supported, because you will.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for everyone watching. Kim Coffin, she is amazing. You can tell her energy is so peaceful. Thank you, Kim. And we do hope that not only your wedding goes just as planned, but everything that follows. So if you have any questions for us or for Kim, reach out and we will make sure that we get you connected. Thanks so much for watching today. And thank you again, Kim.
Thank you. I'm really honored.